So meanwhile, we're finally coming into the airport. He smells gas. And I threaten to have a revolt if this guy turns around at that point. I get in, my staff picks me up, I drive to the hotel, I get in at 5 a.m. in the morning, I'm up at 7:30 to do the seminar. I guess what I learned from that, which is carried through the rest of my life, is that it is not our successes that make us stronger, but it's the way we handle adversity that determines who we are.
That's great, thank you. Okay, perfect. Got it yet? You ready?
Yeah, my story is very much like Keith's. You may recall my discussion earlier today when I said in cyclical businesses you're either a contrarian or a victim. I came by that wisdom honestly. I was a victim. In the early part of my career in the 70s in the oil and gas business, I was a very successful young guy from fairly humble beginnings, and I, in fact, confused a bull market with brains. I thought that the move in oil from $3 a barrel to $30 a barrel was really attendant on my success. And I carried a $30 pro forma with the attendant leverage into a $12 world. The little ditty that I told you, when your outgo exceeds your income, your upkeep becomes your downfall, is what I experienced. I got to the point where in early 1992, my investment goal was to get back to broke. I just wanted to be broke.
Let me just make sure I get a note on that.
Yeah. You said keep it simple.
Play to be broke.
Yeah, just want to get.
Okay.
The point was that in my business, I learned it's very cyclical, and I learned that when things are very bad in the business, it's very, very, very good time to be in the business. And when things get really good in the business, it's gonna get bad. So in the business that I'm in, and this is how I learned it, you are either a contrarian or you are a victim. Mercifully, I got north of broke again. That experience, I am absolutely certain, will keep me from ever being close to broke again.
Excellent, good job. Yeah, next.
About 5 years ago, I alluded to it before, I sold a company, and one of the things that seems to happen is when you achieve what I think is quick success in terms, you sell a business and you've got a bunch of money, that, and I've heard it several times so far, is that suddenly the hubris or the ego suddenly starts to think it's bigger than the rest of the world. So I started investing in a lot of things that I knew nothing about. And the one in particular, it wasn't the biggest disaster I've had. It definitely wasn't the smallest, but I had, at the time, this was back in March, I sold my company just at the height of the tech bubble, and ended up with a bunch of cash and bought Nortel. And obviously I don't have to tell that story. It's been told too many times. But what I remember about it is that, number one, that I bought some and bought it on margin, and I learned deeply what leverage can do to you when it swings against you. And so I had, it was about $100,000 that I had bought, and I had bought it on the advice of my broker at the time, who it turns out lived up to his name. And he had suggested that, it was 120 and it's at 80, and oh my Lord, it's a buy opportunity, and that old story. So I bought in, it dropped to 60, and I called him, and of course, what did he say? It's coming back up, don't worry, everything's fine. It actually came back up, and it came up to exactly what my buy was a few months earlier. This was in December of 2000. So here I am back even, and said to him, what do you think I should do? And well, it's back. I mean, it's going back to 150, and again, their targets were 180. Okay, what am I know? I don't know. You're speaking Japanese. That sounds fine to me. And the long story short is, I got margined out at about $12. And so what I learned in that experience was, it sucks to lose money. That's really, that's one of the lessons I learned. But no, really.
That just goes right underneath getting back to broke, right?
I couldn't help that. No, what I learned, and it was, for me, it was a crystallizing moment in my investing world, because it was the time when I realized that, number one, money just allows you to be stupider faster and lose money faster. and also that if I trusted exclusively putting my money in other people's hands, that very quickly they would find ways to lose it for me. That was the attitude that I had at the time. So what it taught me was I had to learn what I was investing in, and I had to understand investing. So it started me down the road of a lot of research and investing psychology and understanding how wealthy people think and how they act, and then also getting great people around me. And I don't have a train wreck like some of the people up here to tell, and I think that's probably because I was lucky enough early to get scared. And one thing I do want to do is give some of that credit, or a lot of that credit, to the gentleman beside me, Keith Cunningham, because Keith is a very good friend of mine, and he's also he's a mentor to me. We spend a lot of time together, and he's coached me on investing, and so I wanted to thank you for that.
All right, hey, let's give them all a big round of applause. Come on. Good job. All right. Okay, well, we're not done yet. Very good, thank you. So the next question I have for you guys is this. If you had to do your life all over again financially, what would you do differently? And keep it to about a minute or so. So if you had to do your life again all over financially, what would you do differently? You can take all the time you want to think about this. Okay, let's go. All right, and so we're starting with Brent.
You know, that's it's a really hard one, because the reality is I've learned so much from my mistakes that they always sort of careened me into the right direction, and that was how I made my money. You know, I'm not a genius, so I have to try things out and then sort of learn from them. And I don't know that I do a lot of things differently, because my mistakes really have sent me down the path of my success right now. And the people that invest with me, for sure, they get the benefit of me having already stubbed my toe for them. So I really don't know that I do a lot differently, to be honest.
Okay, great. Next.
You know, I wish I had the ability. Hopefully with a little bit of age and a little bit of track record, you gain a little bit of wisdom. And I'm trying to learn more and more from other people's mistakes. But I'm in a similar situation in that, the times in my life that I look back on when Scott had the opportunity to grow and get better and change things in his life that were just kind of systematic problems that would continue to arise until Scott decided to fix them. Only through the bad decisions and the mistakes did I learn those lessons. I am trying to learn from other people's mistakes more and more, because I think there's value in that. But for me, not a dissimilar situation. I don't know that I do a whole lot different. It's been a great ride. It's a lot of fun. I love what I do, and I'm going to make more mistakes and hopefully learn from them.
Excellent.
Boy, that's an easy one. Knowing real estate tripled, I'd buy 100 properties. That's what I would have done. No question about that one. That's one mistake I would make up. I think the second one is when I saw that slide that I showed you, and I only saw that a few years ago, that putting away $4,000 a year for 40 years and just an average performing investment, nothing special, no special investing is worth, after 40 years, was how much? $5.2 million. I would have started investing with an IRA or something as a kid all those years, instead of going out and spending it on the dates that I had. That was a mistake. But I think that's probably the only two major things I might do differently. Otherwise, most of what I would probably do again.
Excellent. Bring it up here.
Two things, really. I would have started my own business earlier. Working for other people subjected me and my clients to other people's mistakes. I would have started my own business earlier. And probably more importantly, when I was very young, I was pretty money motivated. And when I stopped working for money and started working for accomplishment, I started making lots of money. Chasing the dollar early on was an enormous mistake. Trying to do the right thing, it was like I opened the floodgates. It was amazing. When I stopped working for money and just started doing what I did better than other people, I started making incredible amounts of that which I had sought earlier. So those would be the two things.
Excellent.
I think I probably would have wanted to start earlier, thinking before I started what I was doing with the end in mind, because I started a lot of things without even knowing where they were going to lead or what I was doing them for. So I started businesses without knowing what it looked like 5 years from now. So for example, my business that I had for several years, I started it and had no idea where it was going to go. And so one of the things I've learned is that you're crazy to start a business because you love what you do and you want to do it forever. I realized, for me at least, that I needed to start a business but also have an exit strategy in mind. Because if I don't have an exit strategy, it's hard to have a target. And if you don't have a target to shoot at, it's pretty tough to hit it. So I would say that would probably be I focus now more on the end in mind.
Great.
What I don't see is what costs me money every single time. And to me, the silent killer has been my assumptions. When I look back at my career over the last 35 years or so of investing and making a fortune, losing a fortune, making another fortune, every single time that I've gotten into trouble, every single time I've lost money, it's always because there's some assumption that I've made that has gotten me into trouble. And so to me, one of the most powerful things I think you can do in terms of dealing with your money is to think, to use your intellect. Money, as you know from the marble game, has nothing to do with emotions. Never has, never will. The other thing that I think that's, I guess, is an adjunct to that is that I think there's a tremendous difference between the skills it takes to make money and the skills it takes to keep money. And I learned that in spades. I've never been afraid to be broke because I'm not afraid to work. But I never want to go back there. I'll be real clear on that. But I also think that there's two completely different skill sets, and unless you master both of them, you're doomed to a yo-yo effect for the rest of your life, where you make it, lose it, make it, lose it. And I don't want to do that again, so I'm busy learning the skills to keep it this time.
Excellent. Great. Got everybody? Big round of applause. Okay, another question here. All right, this is an interesting one. We're going to keep it short, again, a minute maximum. What do you want to be remembered for?
The one I get to go first on. Yeah, thanks a lot. Well, I want to be, what do I want to be remembered for? I want to be remembered for being a good husband and a good father, period.
Cool, thank you.
Gee, that's really good. I agree with that. I think what I said to somebody asked me that same question actually about a month ago, and my answer was, I want to be remembered that if I pass away, my family will cry. That's what I want to have happen. I want it to miss me.
Miss you, great.
Do you mind if I add something to my? I'm not.
That's
Are you
illegal.
I'm done.
Sorry,
You done?
can't do that.
I guess for something that's perhaps more valuable in context of this, I want to be remembered from my business life as somebody who empowered other people and created wealth for other people, similar to what Rick was talking about earlier. And there's nothing more exciting to me than when our shareholders do well. You can't believe the crates of oranges, and I'm not a golfer, but I get golf clubs every year from people in Florida that have retired because of how well they've done on certain investments. And that there's no way of valuing that. So that from a professional standpoint, that's the answer.
Right. I'll take those golf clubs. All right. Hey, whatever, right? At least not one time. Right here.
You know, in terms of business,
anything.
my business career has been, serendipitous for me, and most of what I want to be remembered for, I think I will be remembered for. What I'm doing in addition to business that is really a passion for me is I'm involved in a microcredit philanthropy. For those of you who don't know what microcredit is, we loan money in the third world. Our chief lending criterion is that the borrower have no collateral, which makes us an odd lender. And we loan money primarily to third world women because we found two things. The women pay the money back, and when they make money, they usually spend it on the family. And we have found, this thing was founded by somebody named Muhammad Yunus. Some of you may have read his book, Give Us Credit. Muhammad Yunus started a microcredit business in Bangladesh in 1973 with $51, and the Grameen Foundation, the Grameen Foundation from $53 has moved 3 million families above poverty, as is defined in those countries. My hope is in my declining years that myself, my customers, can assist people like Muhammad Yunus and take some number, 100 million desperately poor people, loan them money, find non-governmental solutions to real human problems. Don't give them a handout. Give them a hand up. Have them start businesses. Have them look after their families. In Muslim countries, empower the women so that the female children learn to read. That's how I'd like to be remembered. I'll never lead it because it's already being led, but I'm going to do my damnedest to see it go.
Excellent, thank you.
I definitely picked the wrong chair on that question. I think my answers are pretty simple. In my business professional life, I want to be remembered for changing people's concept and path of when it comes to money and independence. I get so much out of teaching and seeing people's lights turn on when I'm teaching, and that's why I love doing it. So it's like Rick said about talking about adding value. It's a byproduct that you're successful when you add value to the world. But that's what I love about teaching, is seeing somebody's lights turn on and knowing that I had a small part to play in their ship slowly starting to change direction and end up somewhere else on the other side of the world. So, personally, I think I'd like to be remembered. I'd like people to know who I was and think of me, know that I'm my father's son, not because of my last name, but because of who I am. So I'd have to say that.
Excellent, great.
I want to be remembered as a man of integrity. That who I am and what I say are perfectly, and what I do are perfectly congruent. That to me is what integrity is. Integrity to me has nothing to do with morals and ethics. It has everything to do with what I know in my heart of hearts is true for me, and then acting accordingly. And so if I could just have one, which I hope I get to have more, but if I get to just have one, that would be it.
Excellent, great.
Yeah, I was sitting here, and I, before Keith said that, the two words came to me was integrity and honesty. That's how I'd want to be known. And we've talked about wealth creation. I'd also sort of want to be known for someone that took a whole ton of people and got them to where they wanted to be, and in creating wealth, help give them choices. And I see it all the time with people, and it's not all about money, but the money does give them some freedom to make some choices. And a lot of my clients make a lot of good choices, and that's what I'd want to be known for.
Excellent. Yeah. Yep. We done with all of them here? Okay. Big round of applause. I guess the big thing that I would say here, and I think most of these guys would agree with that, is that we're not a lot different than you are. Would you say that's? I mean, most of us, especially on this stage here, we don't think, hey, we're here and you're there. At least I don't. I'd love to see you guys here. I'd love to. It pisses me off when you're not, right? That's why I get angry at people. Like, what are you thinking here? Like, let's turn it around. And I don't think you're very far away. I think you guys are a lot closer.